Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. Early morning. And there's nothing like being up and you have your few cups of coffee and you have your breakfast, get your workout in, and then the lawnmower guy, instead of like slowly creeping up to your property, and my lawnmower guy watches the show. So what's up, Army? Your people suck. So instead of, rolling up and turning on the lawnmower, a few hundred feet away from the house, and just literally turning on the electric blower right outside my window and scaring the living crap out of me, I'm awake. I wasn't before, but I am now. Welcome to the Don't Unfriend Me Show. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me in this early startled morning, and this morning's treat is going to be a little bit different. I tend to frustrate people because I like to make sure that things are honest and full of integrity. And the one thing about my show, as small and insignificant as it may be in the spectrum of politics, there's one thing that people will never say or could try to say and then ultimately be proven wrong, is that I don't have credibility. It's the one thing about my show that the people who watch it and who are the most ardent fans will tell you is that I'm not wrong, because I don't make crap up. And I certainly don't jump the gun on things. I stay pretty steady. I don't wait and watch to see the outcome. I wait until there is enough evidence, exculpatory and otherwise, and which is based in fact, to help me understand small portions of an idea or a conflict or a premise. And then when I put enough of those together, I can make a factual statement. But what you can't do is say, well, here's one piece of evidence, therefore everything that I believe or was led to believe is accurate. And that, unfortunately, is what a lot of people do. Now, before I continue to inflate my ego and tell you the great things, I'll tell you what I do wrong. What I do wrong is I tend to move in between the fence posts instead of riding the fence, and I will take multiple sides on multiple different occasions, because not everything is linked with sinew that makes it consistently the case. And let me make an example, because that's just a whole bunch of words and word salad. I'd Kamala Harris there. I'm a Republican not because I agree with Republican politicians or of how they handle or collect their ilk. And the same can be true for Democrats. I appreciate people who work in the best interest of America and the citizens, and I don't care which party they belong to. If somebody does something right, I'm going to go ahead and give them credit. For example, here's a good one. South American border crossings are down 30%, and Joe Biden is touting that immigration is a huge success after Title 42 lapsed, that border crossings are down, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, these times of the year are not always the highest for border crossings. They drop down. Why? Because it's basically the temperature of the sun crossing across South America and Mexico at this time of year. It's just not indicative and conducive to hot weather climate and migrants traversing 1,200 miles of landscape. But it's also against numbers that are completely overblown. In 2022, simply the highest amount of illegal border crossings ever in United States history. Comparing it to that is like comparing a bankruptcy and a foreclosure in 2022 and then saying, hey, well, we had a really good year in 2023. Of course you did. You're going against numbers that were an absolute travesty and abortion. If you didn't, I would be shocked. Let's see what it looks like next year, annualized. And this is the game that we play in politics, is a constant, I did better than this guy, so therefore I'm somehow magnanimous and omnipotent, standing upon Mount Sinai as I come down with the tablets to tell you all about what I did and how I did it and what you need to do to replicate my success. And this is why I tend to move between the fence posts, because sometimes there is a little bit of truth and other times there's not. In this case, leading up to this, you're like, what the heck is this show about? Well, I'll tell you. There is a article from Reuters, and they put it out, and of course, I'm going to dissect this just a little bit, but I'll watch this video with you where there is a typecast Republican personality named Joey Mannarino, and he is a huge Trump fan. In this photo, we'll show you that he dresses like Trump, the same suit as Trump, a little bit less quality, of course, but he missed the color of tie. He wore the prototypical red tie, and Donald Trump was wearing the blue tie that day. So I'm sure he was upset in the photo. Don't worry, buddy. For about $75 an hour, I can Photoshop that for you. But I was watching this guy's video and I was intrigued. And in his title on Twitter, which had 275,000 views, which baffles me that nobody questioned this. I read all the comments. Nobody questioned this. Everyone's just like, yes, this is true because it's from the news. And Reuters simply said that out of all living presidents. Now, other sites decide to relink this article and change the word living and said living and past presidents, which is not true. And I'm going to tell you that, show you that. But all living presidents, out of all of them, the only one that wasn't a slave owner or had some sort of slave ownership in their lineage, even Barack Obama. Yes, your first thing is Barack Obama. That's racist, by the way, that you just did that. He's black. He can't have slave owners in his family. Well, he does. He had a white slave master in his family, and this was proven. You go back and look at it. I think the article was 2012, 2014. And it's very well known that out of all the presidents living, that the only one who doesn't have slave lineage and slave owners in their ancestry is Donald J. Trump. Well, that's true. It's absolutely true. The only president who's living who doesn't have slave ancestral ties is Donald Trump. And I wouldn't expect him to, since he didn't come over here and his family until after 1865, was German, left Germany to flee the military service, came here, no jokes. Military service in Germany wasn't all it's cracked up to be. You know, just look at World War I and World War II. Thank you very much. Of course, what a great Nazi he was, because the Nazi army wasn't even established and went ahead and fled it preemptively. Well, he should be considered a clairvoyant. The Democrats should be applauding Trump's father. Instead, what do they say? Oh, he fled at service just like Bone Spurs and then joined the KKK, which is a complete lie. This is what Democrats do. Once again, a little bit of truth, but overall a lie. So, of course, he doesn't have any American slave owners or slave-based ties when he's not an American during that time and now is. And if you look back, any American who has lineage in the United States of America past 2 generations, 3 generations, every single one of them are slave owners. That's just the way it was. That's the way that was the laws of the time. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, and it doesn't. But this guy changes one word, and he makes it seem like every single president in U.S. history are a bunch of slave-owning racists, except for Donald Trump, and it's an invalid fallacy argument. It's not true. The evidence will tell you completely different. So let's watch this video together, and I'm going to have some things to say about it while we watch it. Here it is.
Oh, this one is sweet. This one is too good. I just have to. 45 of the last 46 presidents, which is all of them.
He even tries to talk like Trump, which is huge.
Have been studied by Reuters, right? Reuters.
Okay, so immediately tries to establish credibility, right? Have been studied by Reuters. I'm positive Reuters studied all 45 presidents. Now, if you want to go ahead and look at Ancestry.com and do the work, go ahead and do it. I don't care. I'm just going to go off History.com. I'm going to go after personal profiles and things of that effect and do surface level diving in. And this is what we found. But first, he's trying to add credibility. And he's saying, oh, well, Reuters did this. Well, his original statement is he's saying all presidents, all of them, 45 out of 46, and that's not the case.
And 45 of the 46 presidents turned out to be descendants of slave owners.
Huge slave owner. I can't do Trump. I can do Bush. I can do Reagan. I can do Clinton. I can do Obama. I can do hundreds of voices, but for some reason, I just haven't tried to do Trump. And I know I could if I actually... But I don't have any time, folks. I'm always making these stupid shows for you. All right, so let's finish this guy. Huge.
5 of them Only one was not the descendants of slave owners.
I love how he has to have notes for this, right? He has to actually, there's only one, and he's looking at his notes. It's, I wonder who it could be. It's Donald Trump.
And who was that president? Oh, that's right. That's right. It was the orange president. Donald J. Trump, the one that they love to hate, the one that they insult, the one that they can't get enough of, the one that in reality, most of the liberal women really want to sleep with him, and they can't, so they get...
This guy has 200,000 followers, and I'm sitting at 5,000. It's okay, Facebook, I rival him, but why? Liberal women want to sleep with Donald. Listen, the only people who want to sleep with Donald Trump are the people who can get money from Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not the cat's meow, okay? At one point, he may have been found handsome and everything. And listen, he is a charismatic guy. I love his approach. He's not an ugly human being. But listen, out of all the people on the planet, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds is up there. I'm sure Barack Obama is up there over Donald Trump. Hell, I think between Joe Biden and Donald, it would be a toss-up. Let's be honest. Liberal women would not sleep with Donald Trump because all liberal women are lesbian. So see how you can do it? I can do it too, bro. I can do it for clicks. It doesn't mean it's necessarily true, but it is funny.
Really upset and bent out of shape, but they know they fiend for that. Anyway, Donald J. Trump is the only United States president in history to not be descended from slave owners.
That's a lie. Complete and utter lie. A fallacy, a complete fallacy. Untrue, not accurate at all. 12 American presidents owned slaves, period. 8 while serving in office. So some of that was before they became in office. And at least 25 presidents count slave owners among their ancestors. That leaves quite a few who didn't. Now, we can sit here and talk about who it was. I will give you some information. But right away, John F. Kennedy, a second-generation Irish immigrant, guarantee did not own slaves. Look at Taft. Look at Arthur. Okay, just a couple. Ulysses S. Grant family was born into the working class from Ohio. They were a free state. His father was an abolitionist, but his father did give him, supposedly, on record, a slave and was immediately released. But if you look at it closer, they were both laborers and not like slave owners at all, which means they got a wage. They had a quarters to living and even did sharing of property and acreage for these laborers. Very different than a slave owner. But either way, right there proves this misnomer completely a misnomer.
So all the racism, all the craziness that they accuse him of, it's all bullshit. The man...
I'll agree there. Complete bullshit. There is nothing that Donald Trump has done that can be considered racist. There's no policy that's racist. There's no comments that are racist. Yes, people are like, oh, illegal immigrants coming up from the border, rape, murder, pillage, drug traffic. They do. They do. And that's what he was talking about because literally 20 seconds before that was done, he was talking about MS-13. He's not talking about Juan and Pedro and Jose who come up and work at a golf course or work at Home Depot. Come on. Of course, they are essential. Menial labor in the United States. A lot of people would not do these jobs. We understand that. Legal immigration is fine. We're talking about illegal immigrants. We're talking about MS-13 gangs. We're talking about people who commit crime for a living. It happens, and that is who Donald Trump was talking about. Both people on good sides. He wasn't talking about the torchbearers. He wasn't talking about the Black Panthers in Charlottesville. Listen to the whole video. Rewind 15 and fast forward 15, and what you will hear is he was talking about the people who were protesting the statue or for it to stay up, a causation rally. He wasn't talking about the others, but of course, this is what happens. Everything is that he's a racist, even though Al Sharpton, even though Jesse Jackson, the Rainbow Coalition, gave him awards in poor, rundown neighborhoods for black youth, even though he was in every single rap song and he had a #1 TV show on NBC with The Apprentice, where he had a multi-diverse staff and also contestants on the show. Can we stop pretending that Donald Trump is a racist? Well, Meatloaf was one contestant, and that I completely agree. He shouldn't have been on the show. Here we go.
Man is not descendant of slave owners. Every other president is the descendant of...
Get a real mic, right? I mean, I can yell all day long, and it doesn't necessarily make your ears bleed. I mean, you have a voice that is not necessarily purring like a kitten, and it's shrieking like an eel off the coast of Gilder.
Slave owner, including Robert Byrd's best friend, Joseph Robinette Biden.
This is absolutely true. Joe Biden has eulogized or been in a relationship with 4 former KKK members. George Wallace, he also forgot, Robert Byrd, Strom Thurmond. I mean, this guy literally is on the KKK top 10. Joe Biden, let's look at his record. Now, that's a great point. The reason why I'm bringing this up, I will explain it in a reason. Why is this important? Why is this wrong, what he's doing, but with semblance of truth that need to be recognized? We'll go into it in a second. Hold on until we can finish this.
He's the descendant of a slave owner, which means so is Crack Rock Hunter Biden.
Oh, boy.
The descendant of a slave owner. Only Donald Trump is not. He's the only pure one.
Okay, here we go. He's the master race. Is that what we're saying? I mean, dude, you can't. I mean, it's like a backhanded compliment. You can't sit here and say that Donald Trump's not a racist, which he's not. And you can't sit here and say all these things and then literally say he is pure. He's a pure blood. These other guys are muggles.
So, liberals, it's time to get on your knees, bow down, and say a prayer to the only pure president that we've had when it comes to slave ownership. It seems the rest are racists. Are you not shocked? Are you not shocked? Liberals, it's a hard day to be you. You have officially been made a fool of.
So it's certainly a great video for clicks, and it's doing better than anything I've ever created as far as Twitter. Certainly not on Facebook, but this isn't jealousy, right? This is, you can make dollars on social media by making stuff like this and still be somewhat credible, but say, oh, well, okay, I missed the living part. Well, it's actually really important because dead presidents don't necessarily dictate what people do or who they are. Because if lineage was so important, then all of us need to take a knee. If you look at the whole argument about racism, how somehow I need to have white guilt because I have slave owners in my family, and I do. And not just like most people. I've been very open about who my uncle was, great uncle in Germany. And if you haven't looked up Albert Speer, do that and look at that. He was a propagandist and like third in line with Adolf Hitler. It was a horrible human being. If we take a look at Georgia and look at the Peacocks, who my family are close relations with the Peacocks, as the Spears left Germany, the Jews of the Schwartzes, who are in my family, fled Germany from Nazis, but I have Nazis who were obviously in Germany at the same time. And when they came over earlier, before a lot of these things happened, and after these things happened in history, they settled in Georgia, and the Peacocks married the Spears. And in that, there was a litany of slavery. I mean, I've seen the wills. So you're like, oh my gosh, you're a racist. This guy's the racist, not this other. Listen. People can change. People can grow. People learn from their past. We no longer club women over the head like cavemen and drag them into caves. At least I don't. We don't lynch people who are guilty. Well, at least Republicans don't. And over time, hopefully, we get better. I never understand the tropes about white pride, gay pride, black pride. How can you have pride in something that you've never had anything to do with? Especially with gay pride in the flag is, first of all, it's not a race. It's not a color. It's not anything you had a choice over, right? You say that. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. It's not a choice. I was born this way. Well, if you're born this way, then why do you need to take pride in it? Why is it something that you must be recognized for as something you didn't do? Congratulations. I want to congratulate everyone on the planet today for gravity. Gravity pride, even though you have nothing to do with it. You have nothing to do, supposedly, unless it is a choice after all, with being gay. And if you're white, well, congratulations. You were born a distance from the equator. And this is the way this works. People who are closer to the sun along the equator line usually are of darker persuasion. And the further north or south you get from that equator line, people get whiter. This is what happens. Now, people have immigrated and changed that and moved across the continents. And obviously, there's been a little bit off that, just that standard. But it has nothing to do with who you are, truly. The color of your skin is insignificant unless you bring in a human element, unless you teach that it's important, unless you say that this is why you are the way you are, is because simply the level of melanin or the lack of pigmentation in your skin. And that is racist in itself. The video is trying to point out that Donald Trump did not have slaves in his ancestry line or slave masters or owners. And that's fine. And you can make that argument. But that certainly isn't a reflection on George Bush or Barack Obama or Bill Clinton, since they weren't even alive during that time and are removed by generations. What you should do is focus on the modern day slave plantations. If you want to look at public policy and you want to make lines of delineation between slavery of yesteryear and slavery today, look no further than the 37 out of top 50 most violent and crime-ridden cities in the United States, and they are all ran by liberals. We may have moved away from the days of slavery. We may no longer have the need for the Underground Railroad. That wasn't a railroad, by the way, even though there are people who tell me that it was, and it wasn't. It was a euphemism of underground tunnels, but it doesn't really matter. If you want to take a look at Jim Crow laws, if you want to take a look at Japanese internment camps, if you want to look at the tests run on the Tuskegee people and the black African Americans with syphilis and gonorrhea, if you want to look at gerrymandering and the first gerrymandering lines that ran across the South that were done by the Democrats, if you want to look at the Dixiecrats, if you want to take a look at today and look at the policies of modern day eugenics with abortion that is destroying a generation of black youth, if you want to look at the guns and the violence and the drug addiction that's happening in the inner cities, the lack of jobs, the constant welfare, and also rewarding mothers for having children without fathers, and the breakdown of the patriarch and matriarchal system inside the African-American community, and the lack of teachings of religion and faith and family values, look no further than liberals and Democrats. You don't need to make up stats. You don't need to make up history, because the great thing is Republicans are on the right side of history. Now, there are certain segments of our party, a very small minutia and percentage, which are saying things like white power and Nazism and everything. All of those things happen. Black Panther does that. There's a united front inside the Democratic Party, Antifa. There are marks and mars on everybody, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the collective focus of the party. Republicans are not racist, and honestly, even though Democrats like to say we are, we aren't. And I will say this, that I don't believe that Democrats are racist. I believe both parties have made huge mistakes throughout history, and we should not have to live with them for the rest of our damn lives simply because our forefathers made bad choices. Let's focus on the good ones they made. Let's talk about prosperity. Let's talk about the Constitution. Let's talk about capitalism. Let's talk about the greatest country ever. Let's talk about medicine. Let's talk about innovation. Let's talk about engineering. The United States is a leader of this world, not because of its oppression, but because it stands for freedom. And we should remember that, whether it's about the slaves, the modern day slave plantations of today, it doesn't necessarily mean that it makes people good or bad. It just makes them human after all. Folks, thanks for watching. I hope Joey Mariano Mastrantano Machiavellian, whatever the hell his name is, takes a lesson in history to understand that there were plenty of presidents who were not slave owners. And it's really important not to make up stuff simply because it's going to get you a few clicks. Thanks for watching tonight, folks. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me. You can find us at thedumshow.com. You can also pick yourself up a cool shirt, some coffee mugs, hats, and anything else over at the Don't Unfriend Me show. Well, not anything else. We don't have high-powered weapons. We don't have pink hula skirts, but we do have some cool things as far as swag that you can go pick up. 10% goes to veterans. You can also save 10% by using code DUM10 by putting that in at checkout, and I would appreciate it. Tonight, Olivia and I will be on live at 8 o'clock. Come and see us. And then Friday, we will have Still Point in the house, releasing a new song, which will be awesome. And we'll have Olivia, myself, Leroy, and Amy and then I'll have a new recorded show for you tomorrow. God bless. Thank you for watching the Don't Unfriend Me show, and I will see you tomorrow.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important, you are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call